Hey guys, Languagehacker here, and today I'm going to talk to you about the 10 cards that I think are the strongest in the new expansion coming out, Fractured and Alterac Valley. So let's hop right in and talk about the cards. Okay, let's start with Shadowcrafter Scabs. Now these aren't in a particularly top 10 order because it's kind of hard to rate cards in that sense when they're played in different archetypes and have different purposes, but I do believe that these are 10 of the most powerful cards that are going to be available once Fractured and Alterac Valley comes out. Let's start off with Scabs. Now, Shadowcrafter Scabs is the rogue hero. 7 mana, Battlecry, return all minions to their owner's hands, summon 2 4/2 shadows with stealth. This seems pretty good in any rogue deck, really. This can help you sap big taunts. This can help you just reset the board completely. You get 8 power into play, and the new hero power does mean that you get to save mana every turn after you play this. So this is just going to be very, very powerful, especially if the meta will become very tempo and board centric. Being able to vanish basically anything and reset with you ahead is going to be very powerful. All right, next up, Dreadlich Tamsin. Surprise! There's going to be a few hero cards here because the hero cards are pretty good. Dreadlich Tamsin. This is the Warlock hero. 6 mana, Battlecry, deal 3 damage to all minions, shuffle 3 rifts into your deck, draw 3 cards. And each of the rifts summons a 3/3 imp when drawn. This is just insane. Probably running this in the current iteration of Quest Warlock, but we're also putting it in most decks that, you know, just want to draw cards, which is a lot of Warlock decks, by the way. The 3 damage AoE effect, really, really good. Shuffle 3 ifs into your deck is fine. Draw 3 cards is good as well, and the gain 5 armor. This is basically like Ultimate Infestation almost, but cheaper in a different class, and it upgrades your hero power too, which is nice. Then you no longer take damage, which some people might argue is anti-synergistic with what you want to do in Quest Warlock, because, oh, well, you lose your tap, you can't take damage anymore. Sure, but now you have like more consistent tempo. You're still drawing cards and you can just get to fatigue anyways. This is an extra backfire basically, where you have 3 extra draws, which means you can start taking fatigue ticks and then complete the quest that way if you really want to, or you can just win on tempo with the 3/3s. So this is just an incredible card. Very, like, all around it does a lot. Board clear, draw, pseudo tempo, and armor. So this is a great card. Next up, Shivering Sorcerers, a little less fancy than hero cards. This is one of the mage minions being released. 1 mana 2/2, Battlecry, reduce the cost of the highest cost spell in your hand by 1. Looking at this, you might be thinking, well, clearly we run this in Big Mage, and yeah, we probably do run this in Big Mage. Big Spell Mage probably isn't going to be that great. It seems a little slow and clunky. Even if the meta does slow down, Big Spell Mage seems particularly slow. However, regardless of whether or not Big Spell Mage sees play, this probably fits in any deck in Mage that happens to run minions, because this is just an insane card. 1 mana 2/2, and you don't have to, it doesn't matter what your most expensive spell is in your hand, right? In any deck where you're playing minions and spells, it's basically a 0 mana 2/2. You play it on turn 1, great for tempo. It's easy to play later on and fit in on any turn where you're floating some mana as well, which is excellent. And then just discounting a spell in your hand is good too. So this card is just excellent. This is going to see play in, again, every mage deck that is okay playing minions. Now, Quest Mage might not play this. We'll see if Quest Mage still is popular after the expansion. But what this card does for 1-drop is just really, really good. And I think that should be included. Okay, Windchill. This is the new Shaman spell. It's a frost spell. 1 mana. Freeze a minion, draw a card. 1 mana card draw is excellent, and having a freeze effect on top of it is great. Stall out the game, prevent your opponent from attacking with a huge minion, and even just having a 1 mana cycle is great. This is a very efficient and easy way to progress your frost spell counter for Baron Glacier, which is kind of your finisher in Frost Shaman. So this is just all around great card. 1 mana draw is insane, and then the added benefit of being frost and freezing is also just insane. Next up, Tamsin's Phylactery, another Warlock card. 4 mana, Shadow Spell, discover friendly Death Rattle minion that died this game. Give your minions its Death Rattle. This is insane in Warlock, particularly because, I mean, it's in Warlock, but Warlock has ways to generate boards, right? We have Wicked Shipment, we have Fiendish Circle, I believe. Both of these summon a large amount of minions for relatively cheap mana, and then applying something like Tamsin's Phylactery to that board can give them Death Rattles, which is great. You can take this a few different ways. You can put this in an aggressive deck, run eggs, and then apply that Death Rattle to whatever board you have. It doesn't have to be the Wicked Shipment or the Fiendish Circle. Whenever you stick a board and then just ship a Tamsin's Phylactery, it's excellent. So you can run eggs to just make sticky boards that you can push damage with. You can make like an OTK type deck where you run Humongous Owl, draw your whole deck, and then go Wicked Shipment, Tamsin's Phylactery, choose the Owl, Soul Rend, blow up the board, and then just shoot all the damage face. It's just it's a very powerful card. It doesn't fit in every single Warlock deck, but its power level is insane. Next up, Korrak the Bloodrager. I initially thought this card was going to be really nutty, and I still think it's going to be good. This card can just be thrown anywhere, honestly. It's a solid, again, if the deck has slots for it. If you're missing a couple of cards in a tempo deck, and you need to finish the 30 card, you know, requirement, Korrak's probably an acceptable one to put in. 4 mana 3/5 Death Rattle. If this wasn't honorably killed, resummon Korrak. We've seen a lot of synergies pop up in Alterac Valley that have, you know, that either play off of Death Rattle or just have buffs for Korrak as well. Rogue can use this with a Death Rattle package they've gained, where something like Sketchy Information drawing this will summon a Korrak on the board, which is really good. 3 mana spell, draw Korrak, summon a Korrak as well is really powerful. The way this was described by the devs is that honorably killed means you have to have exact, like, a mathematical lethal damage to kill Korrak, which means if you trigger this Death Rattle through Sketchy Information, through anything that procs it that doesn't actually deal lethal damage, and that includes something like Siphon Soul as well, like a hard removal like that doesn't deal damage, Korrak will trigger and resummon, which makes this really good. So you can run this in Death Rattle Rogue if that exists. You could use this as an option with Tamsin's Phylactery and something like a Zoo Warlock. You could put this in Hand Buff Paladin, make it really hard to kill, so if your opponent has to either like use hard removal on it, like a Siphon Soul, it at least gets resummoned as a 3/5. So there's plenty of ways to put in Korrak in Alterac Valley and a lot of the decks that we've kind of seen been theory crafted. So even though this might not be like the giga best card in the set, I think this is flexible enough that it's just powerful. Next up, Xyrella Devout. 8 mana, Priest Hero. Battlecry, trigger the Death Rattle of every friendly minion that died this game, and your hero power does swap back and forth at this point from heal 5 and deal 5. This probably lets Priest go back to sort of control game plan, where you focus on this with Undying Amulet to res and trigger high value Death Rattles. There's a new one that came out, the 5 mana one that lets you draw Holy and a Shadow spell. You can run Undying Disciple, or whatever it's called, the 6 mana 3/7 that has like a taunt that has an AoE when it dies. You can run Light Shower Elemental for healing, Moarg if you want to get fancy and add some armor. Basically, hide behind some Death Rattle taunts, play this to re-trigger everything, clear the board, gain some health, and then you have like this win condition. Instead of discovering 20 dragons like we used to do, we can just ping you down over a few turns. So this adds a nice win condition to control Priest, so you don't have to run too much value. You can just focus on tempo, removal tools, and then a core set of Death Rattles that get supported by that. Next up, Stonehearth Vindicator. It's a Paladin minion, 3 mana 3/1, Battlecry, draw a spell that costs 3 or less. It costs 0 this turn. One good thing in Hand Buff Paladins, in Hand Buff Paladin, and not even just Hand Buff Paladin, but in Paladin in general, they have some level of card draw, but once you keep adding more and more card draw, whatever decks you're running become more and more consistent. Libram Paladin, for example, if you keep consistently drawing Libram of Wisdom, which this can do, you know, your game plan comes together much quicker. You have more consistency of what you're doing by the time you get to the mid game, and this allows for that. And in Hand Buff Paladin, similar thing. This works in both. You can draw Noble Mounts, Librams, the new Paladin 3 mana Divine Shield spell if you really want to. Conviction, if you're still running that, you don't really want to use Conviction. Now the 0 mana cost of the spell that you draw is only applied for this turn, so you generally want to use it when you draw it, which is the 3 things that come to mind are Noble Mount, Libram, and the new 3 mana Divine Shield spell. However, you can really use it to draw Conviction if you so choose. So this could slot right into Hand Buff Paladin and Libram Paladin, but it's very good. Draw a card, apply it, really good. Next up, a Desecrated Graveyard, another Warlock card, 3 mana spell. At the end of your turn, destroy your lowest attack minion to summon a 4/4 Shade. This lasts 3 turns. This is great, especially when you're trying to run Death Rattles to use with Tamsin's Phylactery and you're running small minions. On top of that, you could start running Murloc Tiny Fins, Desk Imps, Possessed Villagers, anything that's tiny, right? You throw this down on turn 3, you could coin it out maybe with a Murloc Tiny Fin, bam. you get an insta 4/4. Next turn, oh no, wait, I have a 4/4 on the board. I don't want it to die. Well, your entire deck is like 2 or 3 mana, so you can just play something else with a good death rattle, like a Nerubian egg, a Boneweb egg. It's the Warlock specific egg as well. There's plenty of ways to activate this, and it just works really, really well. It's another way to proc your death rattles too. One reason why we hadn't seen as much egg usage, for example, in Warlock, like back in the old days when we had Naxxramas, when we had what's called Power Overwhelming, Abusive Sergeant, there were plenty of ways to actually trigger death rattles, and now this is just an extra one on top of what we currently have available. And this is a very, very good one because it's a persistent effect, so you can proc like several death rattles. And if you don't have death rattles, like I said, Tiny Fen, you can use just Wicked Shipment to spawn some 1/1 imps, which will also be sacrificed. So this is a very, very good card for that archetype. Won't really fit in any other Warlocks, but this is just quite powerful, frankly. And finally, Claw Fury Adept. I try to give a little bit of love to each of the classes, but some of the classes didn't really have cards that stood out to me that much. But we do have a Druid card here, 2 mana, 2/3 Beast. Battlecry, give all other friendly characters +1 attack this turn, including your hero, which you can use to fight for board and temple matchups. This is solid. It's just a curve if you want to play something on curve. This is a beast, so it does fit together with a beast archetype that Fraction Alterac Valley is trying to push for Druid. It's not quite as strong as Savage Roar, but I mean, that's that's a pretty high benchmark to compare it to. So this is just fine, right? Good for curve, helps with board control, and it can be used as a finisher. So it's and it has beast synergy. All around, very, very good card to use in token/aggro druid or whatever that archetype's going to look like. Not going to be used in slower druids, but that's fine. Card doesn't have to be flexible to be powerful, and this is a good example of that. Those are my 10 cards to look out for / are going to be powerful for Alterac Valley. Thanks for watching. Make sure to comment, like, subscribe. Let me know what you guys are looking forward to playing when the expansion drops. Happy grinding honor, by the way, for the Alliance. Always.